All right, Trav, welcome. How are you, mate?
Very good, thanks, Toby. How are you?
Yeah, doing really good, thank you. Why don't we tell the
Brilliant.
listeners, I like to play a game. Where the hell is Travis Smyth? Where are you, mate?
Catch me while you can, kind of thing. I'm currently in Chicago, Illinois, USA.
Yes.
That's where my girlfriend lives. That's kind of where I've drifted to over the past couple of years. So I would say I'm at home, but it's a new home, Chicago.
So you classify Chicago as home?
Well, during COVID, I didn't want to be in Australia, and I was over here. And I was renting an apartment in Sydney, and I stopped doing that. So I don't really have I just made my parents' home my official residence, and I'm just over here in Chicago. Yeah. Eventually, I think I'll make the move. I'll get the right visa, all that sort of stuff. But it's like I'm joining a club here in Chicago soon, and I'm here way more than I am in Australia. So it's kind of unofficially, officially home.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just kind of realize, oh, hang on, I'm here more than I am somewhere else. So, I've got you on today. Obviously, I followed your journey closely. I classify you as a good friend, and you play on the Asian Tour. What's your status? So is Asian Tour, that's your home tour you play on?
Yeah, so I have full status on the Australian Tour as well as the Asian Tour. Ever since I turned pro, I just went to Q school, got my card, got full status, get my card, and they're the two tours I play on.
So how many years you been on the Asian Tour now?
Technically, if you count the COVID years, I guess I'm going into my fifth year, but it's realistically, I'm going into my third year as a professional. Like, we didn't play at all during COVID. Like, we basically lost 2 years.
That's true. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. Hey, what happened to, I guess you could say, like the mini tour guys or the guys that aren't on the main tours, that they got left behind, right? And why was that? Do you think that was due to sponsorship or just couldn't get it going? Or
the Asian Tour, we play all over Southeast Asia, Middle Middle East, and during COVID, like, every single country was locked down. Like, we couldn't pop from the country. So they did their best. There was rumors that we're going to get events in America and stuff like that, but it just didn't quite happen for us. It's slowly, I guess, most of the countries we can get into now. So we've been back since December last year.
So I guess, with the whole COVID pandemic stuff, is that each country had their own regulations, right? So it was difficult to trying to get in. There's a few parts of Asia which has been pretty clamped down, right? I know China's still very much clamped down. Yeah. So is it coming back? Is it how close is it back to 100% in the Asian Tour?
Well, funny enough, the Asian Tour, when it did come back, is 10 times as big as it's ever been. The Saudis have invested about 600 million, just a small amount, and that's guaranteed for 10 years, and it's growing massively. And I'm sure we'll get into it in this podcast, but the LIV Tour, it's intertwined. The Saudis behind both those tours. Their mission is to make it the second biggest tour in the world.
I love that. That just gets me so excited. It makes me happy, right? Because we will get into that. But let me, so what's been your best year on the Asian Tour Order of Merit? What's your highest finish?
So for the 2 years, I think like 43rd. Not too great, but it's a lot. Like, for a kid from Australia, there's a lot of adjustments and things you have to get used to when playing in Asia. It's a culture shock. It's a life shock. Golf shock, temperature shock, everything. It's just so different. So I got by. Everyone kind of told me like it wasn't going to be easy, but now I feel like I've sort of gotten on top of it, and I've been pretty consistent. And now I'm on my way to have my best year yet.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that too. You can definitely see you're playing well. It you do hear that, don't you? About it does take people time to settle into full-time playing life as well, isn't it? And traveling. We've heard that recently of Matthew Wolff, over in the PGA Tour on like a mental side of things. But I guess the adjustment to playing full-time, it can't be easy, right?
Yeah. I sit back and I think, how can this guy from America say it's bad? He lives in his own country. He doesn't have to leave the country. Yeah. It's on the biggest stage in the world, but we all go through our own problems. We have our own demons, right?
Yeah.
You know, but the thing is, like, Matt Wolf, I'm sure if he like heard my story and saw that I'm playing in India with food poisoning, trying to earn a living, he'd be like, man, there's no way I could possibly do that. Like, people don't realize it's you know, we're all got our own demons and obstacles to overcome.
It toughens you up, doesn't it? I guess that's, you know, like from where you're coming through, and it's kind of a bit of a, you know, obviously you got goals to be on the PGA Tour or the European Tour or the LIV Tour.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all changing, isn't it? It's always been PGA Tour. Definitely. I want to live in America. I want to just play over here, that sort of thing. But now that this LIV stuff's going, and I'm hearing where their vision's going, and it's all team based, it's like I want to be a part of that. If it gets to as good as what they're projecting, I want to be on a team. I want to play on a team the whole year. You know, I want to turn up to the golf course with my teammates and push each other to get better. Like how good would that be? You know.
All right. Well, why don't we get into it? Because I'll come back to the Asian Tour, because I want to really educate. You know, I guess I want to educate people on the Asian Tour, and I want to explain to people what the Asian Tour is, where it stands in the world, and obviously its struggles and trials and tribulations. But it's pretty edgy. It's difficult to not talk about LIV, because I want to hear about it as well. So, how did you get a start? So you played the LIV. You played the first event. How did you get in?
Yeah, so within the Asian Tour, we have a special series of events called the International Series. Now, there's a separate order of merit for those International Series events.
Oh, okay.
And there's a category, which is one of the very few categories for the LIV Tour, and that's top 3 from the International Series order of merit. So I played in England and come second and earned enough money for me to be 3rd on that list. So top 3, they're in. So I made a poor bogey on the last hole, which obviously hurt, but I kind of knew I was in the first LIV event. So I was like, you know what, bittersweet. But then I got told I get to actually play the next 2. So it's as good as you could possibly feel not winning a golf tournament.
So from a player, right, for the viewer listening, we you know, you jump on social media, and what I saw today was someone like, oh, Brooks Koepka is defecting to the LIV Tour, you know, and a lot of them friends are harping on about it. Where to me, right, I see opportunities for friends like you, right, who are getting a start on it. Like, in your career, getting that start in that event, where do you rate that? Is that the number 1?
Probably, definitely, yeah. I mean, I won a professional event in Australia as an amateur.
That's right.
And I feel like that kind of weighs up to like what I just did for my confidence, you know, to really like catapult a career, get something really going on an upward trajectory. These 2 moments are definitely the highlights. But yeah, getting the opportunity to play against these players is what I'm most excited for. The money's amazing, obviously, and someone in my position, I need it so I can, you know, survive.
Of course. But,
you know, I'm amped. I feel like I'm playing good. I want to go tee it up alongside Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, Patrick Reed, you know, these guys, Phil Mickelson, and I want to beat them. And when I do beat them, how good am I going to feel?
100%. And what about like, was there other people in your position, you know, who were kind of the same as you? Did you talk to them who played in the LIV event? Were they just as excited and pumped as you? I guess for someone like, you know, these top tier guys like the Graham McDowells and all this, right? Just another day for them, right? I guess like they got their big entry check, but it's just another day for them. Was there a bit of buzz around a couple of other Asian Tour guys playing?
Oh, definitely. Like, everyone was just so pumped to be there. You know, like we're not making anywhere near that type of money or on the stage, you know, with the fans, just the whole circus of that sort of event. But I talked to all the big name players and I had a pretty good discussion with a bunch of them, and they were like so excited for the whole thing as well. You know, it's like this new way of golf, and they're so excited and pumped to be a part of it. Like everyone, like the energy was just insane. It was pretty special, man.
It was awesome. I loved it. I was hanging on. I'm following all the Instagram pages for LIV Golf, LIV Golf highlights.
Yeah.
Like I'm in. I'm all in.
Yeah.
So tell me, who did you play with the first? Did they change the draw? Did it end up becoming seeded after each day, or Who did you play?
Yeah. So I played the Pro-Am with Bernd Wiesberger.
Nice.
And he was awesome. And then I played with Sean Norris and a Japanese fella first round. And the second round I played with Matt Jones, who was amazing.
Yes.
I felt really comfortable with him. Like we spoke a lot. You know, he was a really good playing partner. And the final round I played with Kevin Na and Martin Keimer. So that was pretty cool as well. And
wow, that's very cool. Martin Keimer, man.
He's a classy guy. He's a classy guy.
The Germans are.
Mate, Kevin Na is so popular. I was shocked. Like, I know he's a big name kind of thing, but, you know, he hasn't won a major. He's won 5 times. He's been on the PGA Tour a while. Everyone knows who he is. But, mate, walking from green to tee and down the fairway, everyone was yelling, "You like, go Kevin, come on, Kevin Na." They were chanting these songs. Mate, he was the superstar.
So tell me, yes, I guess, you know, he's a personality in the game, right? Because he done that, you know, he does a little short putt thing and people like that, right? Tell me how important it is to have like a good playing partner. I was listening to Max Homa, and Max Homa was talking about when he won over in the PGA Tour. I can't remember what it was. It might have been the Memorial. I can't remember. But he was talking about he pretty much played with his best buddy the whole 4 days. It just worked out that way. And he put that win down to being able to play with him. How important is it to have a good playing partner, someone you feel comfortable with?
Some days you're really nervous and you deal with it great, and you don't really know why. You know, you're out there, you're doing your best. And then some days, like, you're nervous. Like I felt really nervous on the final round with Martin Keimer and Kevin Na and the crowds and that sort of thing. And like, I didn't really overcome it very well. Like, I shot 6 over on a very hard golf course.
Tough course. Yeah, we're gonna put that in perspective. Yeah.
But I didn't play well, and I just didn't handle it well. So, and then, you know, the second round I played with Matt Jones, and we were right from the get go talking a lot, and it just made me feel a bit more comfortable. Like, I don't really know, to be honest. Like, I feel like I definitely could be better at breathing techniques and that sort of thing to overcome the nerves and, you know, settle the heart rate and that sort of thing. That's definitely something I need to work on better.
So you were more nervous heading into the last round. You know, Matt Jones is a fellow Australian, so I can see how you would have felt comfortable with him as well from Sydney. And you guys kind of share a similar type of view on the game too. I reckon you guys do. And but for me, you were more nervous playing that last round because of the crowd and the people. Sorry, the crowd and your playing partners more so than your position in the actual field, like on the leaderboard.
Yeah, honestly, like I'm a bit nervous because of the position I am, but also the team. Like, our team was up there.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the whole situation, the moment got the better of me. Like the crowds, Martin Keimer, Kevin Na. I don't know. I just final day, you know, I wanted to make a charge, and I just it was just all a bit overwhelming. I wasn't really ready for it. It was pretty new to me. Like, I've played in front of crowds before, but it was pretty big there.
And it's one of those things as well. You know, people talk to me about, you know, I just want more confidence, Toby, in my golf game. And I go, well, confidence comes from seeing good results, right? You know, or being in a position before where you can draw upon a past thing. So when you find yourself in a new position like that, new golf tournament, you know, Martin Keimer, ex-world #1, major champion winner, Kevin Na, the crowds are yelling out his name, the fairways, you're playing a LIV golf event, you're in the final round. You know, Travis Smyth hasn't been there before, you know.
Yeah.
It was only, you know, a couple of years ago, you're playing the Kennan Challenge with me walking around following you in flip-flops, you know, like it's so you'll just kind of draw from that experience, won't you? You know, like it's
definitely. Yeah.
And when people say that they're confident, like for me, people say, I'm not very confident. I go, well, how have you been playing the last 6 rounds? And they go, oh, I haven't shot my handicap, or I've been playing poorly. And I go, well, that's why you're not very confident. You know, like if a boxer loses their last 6 bouts by knockout and they go into the next fight, if they tell you they're confident, they're lying to you. That's for sure. So the LIV Golf, tell me, who was on your team?
So my captain was Peter Uline.
Yes.
And we had Richard Bland and Pachara Kwongwatamai. I think that's pronounced it.
So Peter Uihlein, he's about your age, isn't he?
No, he's a few years older. I think he's probably 30. I actually don't know, but I assume he's a little bit older. He's the son of ex-Acushnet CEO.
Oh, wow. Because Peter Uihlein, he was a great young golfer, wasn't he? Like, coming through, I remember the name vividly, like a bit more like, it was like a Patrick Cantlay, you know, like around that type of like.
I think he had an amazing amateur career and played quite well in Europe, got to the PGA Tour and like, just probably hasn't shined yet on that tour, but he had a 4th place at the first LIV event, so I'm sure his goals are now to shine on the LIV Tour.
That's amazing. So how did the format of the teams event work? How does it work?
So the first 2 rounds is the top 2 scores of the 4 players. And then the final round is top 3 scores of 4 players. So my score counted twice, so I feel very much part of the team contribution.
Yes.
And but our captain Peter, he won it for us. Like he came 4th in the individual, I think 4th or 5th. And just the way it works, like it was such a good team effort. It was Pachara and Peter round 1, then it was me and Peter round 2, and then it was Richard Bland, Peter shot amazing scores round 3, and then I came in at 6 over, and my score actually still counted. Pachara didn't have a good day, but like, it was amazing. Like I got done before him, and we were all on the 18th green, and Peter Uihlein had a putt to go outright second for the team. So it was about $150,000 putt
for each person.
For each person.
Wow, and that's huge for like for putting viewers, right? Like, how much money did you make on the Order of Merit last year on the Asian Tour?
I think it was like, I don't know, like $90,000, $80,000 or something.
So Peter and you didn't play for COVID the last 2 years before that, right? So we could probably say that Peter Uihlein, I think I've pronounced that correctly. Yeah. From how far? How long was the putt?
I think it was about 15 foot.
So he had a 15-footer to make what you've made in the last 3 years. Yeah. That's unbelievable, you know, and people don't understand the pressures of that. You know, that's incredible.
Well, he actually didn't know. Like, he walked off the green and we come up and I'm like, man, you just hold that putt to go outright second. That's another 150
so he held it. He held it. Oh!
Mate, I got this awesome video. We're all just in there.
No way.
And he's super happy because I think he went from like outright 5th to outright 4th. So he probably, that putt just for the individual was probably like 500 grand just for him. Like, at the top of the leaderboard, it's like insane. Maybe it could have even been more. And when I told him, you just made us another 150 grand, like, he was ecstatic. He was over the moon. And like, we had that team camaraderie, you know, like we're kind of close now because we're on the team and we had a good week. So the vision of LIV Golf, and eventually it's going to be the same players in the same team for the whole year.
Wow.
And I want to be a part of that so bad. It felt amazing. It was really cool.
And that's unusual, isn't it, for people to be in a team environment? And that's good to hear, right? That I guess you guys were really amped for the team. Was that the same across all the top players as well? You felt that same energy from Graham McDowell's and Dustin Johnson's. Do you think they were buzzing for it as well, the team side?
I didn't talk to enough of them to really know. But I know Ian Poulter was in the scoring hut and they were watching Peter Uihlein putt on the last hole, and he holed it, and Peter Uihlein goes, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Poulter, he was spewing about it because he knew.
He knew. He didn't want to come. He wanted to be, because we were in a tie for second.
Wow.
So like, Poulter, he's made a lot of money, and he was angry that, you know, Peter Uihlein holed that putt to go outright second, and we took over their team. So
that's
if he cares, I'm assuming a bunch of other guys care as well.
That's awesome. That really makes me excited. So, let's talk one more thing about. So, tell me, did you want to share with the viewers how much money you made? I guess they could probably find it. How much money did you make for the week?
For the LIV, so in my individual, I earn 150 US, and then for the teams, I won 375.
That is incredible. That makes me so happy. And you know what? And I hope people hear this right. who are people who have been giving LIV a bit of a hard time as well, because these opportunities that are out there for people and what they're creating. And, I heard today that they've just released a few things around making some changes to the PGA Tour. They've gotten on the defense hard, and it's about time. I've heard the stories around Phil Mickelson when he just asked for some, I don't know the exact details, but he asked the PGA Tour for some media from when he played that match with Tiger Woods, and the PGA Tour come at him and said, "Oh, yeah, it's going to cost you $1 million for a video or something like that." And he's like, "I just paid you guys X amount." And, people don't understand. I've been telling people in the PGA Tour have been getting underpaid, like massively.
Mate, yeah. All the other sports, the athletes, the top athletes that basically are on a show every single week, that basically make the sport what it is, get paid huge money.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, people love watching the PGA Tour because they can see their favourite players, Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy, Tiger, all this sort of stuff, and they're getting paid nowhere near as much. Tiger, all those top guys made more money in their sponsorships than they did on course. And now there is an outrage that everyone's like, well, the PGA Tour have just unlocked 120 million. Where'd that come from? Why were you sitting on that?
Yeah,
so but everyone, like the players are winning at the moment, which is heading in the right direction.
So you've got to start in the next 2 events. Is that true?
Yeah. So I'm in Portland next week, and then New Jersey after that.
And did you earn that through the teams event, or how did you get those 2 starts?
So top 3 on that International Series Order of Merit.
Oh, all 3.
So the way it works is I get all 3 because there isn't another Asian Tour International Series event until after the 3rd one. So what will happen is after the 3rd one, I'll go to Singapore and Korea, and the top 3 on that Order of Merit will get to play the next few again. So
have you seen where you are? Like how much do you think you got to win? And that's gonna be a whole different challenge when you get back to that Asian Tour event, hey?
Yeah, I mean, we've got 2 weeks, 2 very important weeks. I'm 3rd, and hopefully I can play well enough to stay in that top 3 and get to play more.
That's unbelievable. That makes me really happy. So tell me, to end on the LIV golf stuff, right? Because I really want to educate the viewers on your playing life. Have you got a story from the LIV event? Like, was there a situation where you walked past someone, or did you see someone hitting balls, or did someone surprise you? What?
I had a pretty good chat with Phil about coffee.
Nice. Well, he's a big coffee dude, and so are you.
Yes, but I'm a pure coffee dude. Yeah, he's got like this concoction that he calls coffee that's not coffee,
Yeah.
And,
I've read that.
So once I started telling him about, what I do, how I travel with my coffee grinder, my scale, my beans, geisha, all this sort of stuff, he was very intrigued. So I'm hoping at the next one I can maybe make him a coffee and show him what the real stuff is.
That's awesome. He uses, I guess, for me, from viewing you, like for people listening, right, Trav is a coffee nut, right? Well, I'm sitting here drinking my Balinese black coffee. That's got a bit of grind at the bottom of it. But you love your coffee, right? But I'm guessing Phil kind of uses it as a fuel, doesn't he? Where you're just
like his is like medicinal. Like he injects like all this like stuff that his body's like lacking, like all this like vitamins and all this sort of stuff, and basically like instant coffee. So it's kind of like, I guess, medicinal coffee. And he's found a way to like sweeten it up and make it taste half decent, I guess, for a non-coffee purist. But hopefully I can get him in the room or something and just make a coffee and sit down and have a chat with him. How good would that be?
By side with Phil. I'd love that.
Most people want to sit down and have a beer with someone. I just want to sit down and have a coffee.
I love that. So do I. Well, obviously I don't drink, so I'm into that too, man. Hey, it's got to be before midday though, otherwise I'm up all night. Okay, let's get back to a little bit of the Asian Tour, right? Tell me, how many events a year are there roughly in a normal schedule?
I don't even know. I think over 20, probably like low 20s.
Yeah. And do you try to get to them all?
Pretty much, yeah. Try and play as much as I can. So before COVID, the Asian Tour was there was Asian Tour only events, and then there was all these co-sanction events with the European Tour, Japan Tour, Korean Tour.
Yeah.
And it was very hard to have full status. Some events there'd only be 30 spots for Asian Tour players for some of the European. Then some of them were an even split of like 65, that sort of thing. So I got to play, I think, roughly, I don't know, 16, 17 events, me personally, with my status. And then I would play events in Australia. But since I've got better status in Asia, it always conflicts, and I haven't been able to play the events in Australia as much.
And I guess that's important, right? Because for you on the Asian Tour, it's important to get as high as possible, isn't it? Because that's the jumping board. And coming back to Australia, the PGA Tour of Australasia, or whatever it's called, Australia, I should know, is there's no, I guess, real leap initiative unless you kind of win the Order of Merit. You might get to start in European Tour, right? And
you literally just have to win, which is amazing. It's a huge opportunity. But yeah, unless let's say if I played a couple of the big ones and played really well, then I would focus on Australia. And that's kind of like what some of the guys do. But I never really got off to an amazing start or anything like that. And it's hard to play it's hard to give up an Asian Tour event that's like $1 million or play $150,000 event in Australia. It's a no-brainer.
And fly all the way back here, or back to Australia. So what's your favorite country to play in on the Asian Tour? Where do you like to travel to the most?
Probably Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, Singapore. Those countries are all up there. And probably those countries. It's hard to pick one more than the other. I really love Japan, but we only get to go there once or twice.
And what attracts you to Japan? You like the outside of the golf, obviously.
Well, the golf courses are just immaculate. They're perfect. You know, Japan's an amazing country. The food's amazing. We're always staying in some sort of city near like a busy sort of area. So it's just really fun to just, walk around and explore and travel a little bit.
What's the toughest country to travel to on the Asian Tour? I think I know the answer.
India or Bangladesh by far. By a mile. Like, it's not even close. Every time I've gone there, I've been sick.
So I know that. Tell me the story. So you've got food poisoning. Probably, what is that, this year or the end of last year, maybe?
Well, I've had it like 5 times. So
what happened?
The most recent one happened a few months ago in Delhi.
So you flew into Delhi. Where were you playing?
We're in Delhi, playing at Delhi Golf Club. I paid extra to stay in this Shangri-La hotel, which was expensive. Mate, the tax upon tax in India is insane. You think you're getting a good deal, and then there's like 40% tax on top of every price. But anyway, I'm playing, feel good, amazing golf course, great hotel, having a great time. Round 1, leading. I'm like, how good's this? That night, I'm like, I feel a bit off. Second round was all right. I was okay. It was the second round night I felt a bit off. Woke up the round 3, just full gastro, and it's 40 degrees outside, super hot wind, it was awful. I was going to pull out, but at that time, I'm thinking about the Order of Merit, and I'm thinking, if I pull out, I get last place money.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm like top 10. And I thought, if I just finish, I'm gonna be better than last, and every single dollar counts.
Wow.
So I played round 3 and I shot like 7 over.
How did you do that? So you got to the course, and you're obviously still suffering from gastro. And when you get something like that, right, it physically depletes you, right? You feel like you're drained.
You're dizzy, you're weak, you feel sick. It's so hot and windy. You're trying to swing a golf club. There's lost ball on both sides of this golf course. It's so mentally draining. You just don't want to be there. It's so hard.
So what did you do? Did you just pump yourself full of electrolytes, or how did you do it?
Yeah, Imodium, and just smashed as much electrolytes as possible. And I basically couldn't eat. So I was just constantly telling myself, Trav, it's 5 hours, just get it done. Just that's it. I'm not going to die.
Yes.
I'm not going to die.
Yes.
Just keep going. Okay, like just suck it up.
That's great. It's one of those things that I kind of use in the gym as well, or when working out, that it's just time, right? It's just time, and you can get through this. And you know, you've been through tougher situations, and yeah, that's another thing that you've got to consider, right, when pulling out. Like if Ian Poulter wakes up with it, he's not playing.
Exactly. Yeah. Like every dollar counted. And funny enough, I went home and round 4, I felt even worse. And I'm walking around my bedroom thinking, God, like, am I going to play? Do I not? Do I pull out? Yeah, I'm pulling out. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, no, I'm not pulling out. So I go to the golf course. The first 5 holes, the 5th hole comes back to the clubhouse. And I said to myself, if I'm not playing well, I'm pulling out. I just felt so bad. I turned in those 5 holes, 2 or 3 under. And I'm like, well, shit, I have to finish now. Mate, I shot bogey 3, I think. Best 4 under of my life. And went from like 30th to 10th.
Wow.
So it was, I took a lot from that. I was so happy with myself.
So what do you know, for the viewers out there who don't know India well, I actually met you in India at an event one time as well. I traveled down to see you. India is a very, very tough place to travel. And since having kids, I know that, you know, that's off the radar for a long time. I've got students in India through my online coaching platform. I've got, you know, I got yearly subscribers over there, and I actually teach a couple of professionals in India as well. And I know that I have to be going over there solo myself. So it's interesting enough that you're staying in the hotel, and you've probably been extra cautious because you've been hit with this a few times before, and you still get sick. What do you think that this is called the Delhi belly, right? So I'm currently living in, we've got the Bali belly here, and you've got the Delhi belly over there. And you know what? The actual interesting story for myself personally, when traveling through India, the actual opposite thing happened to me the first time. So the opposite thing of Delhi belly. So I'm going to the chemist and the pharmacist myself, and I'm trying to tell them, and I'm traveling through remote places, and I'm trying to tell them I'm going opposite Delhi belly. So I'm trying really hard to make sure they don't give me stuff to stop Delhi belly, because otherwise I'm in more trouble. But anyways, that's a trouble thing of flying. And for me, it was because of the adjustment to food. What do you think? What got you? Was it just maybe shaking hands, or the money, or put it in your mouth? Because you're staying in a nice hotel, probably eating nice food, right?
Mate, I was having cooked vegetables and grilled chicken like every single day. And yeah, it's a mystery. I don't know. Every time I've been sick, I've always recalled like a dodgy meal. Like I've been sick in Indonesia a few times, and I got it from like having Japanese like sushi, you know, like raw food. So I can understand that sort of stuff. But this time I have absolutely no idea.
You must be a little, not to use the word, but must be a bit sensitive to that type of stuff, because
I am, yeah, definitely.
I've been to India numerous times. I'm living in Bali now, and I've been here half a dozen times. I've never had anything like that.
It's just
I'm reckless. I haven't seen hand sanitizer since I've been here. You know, I got nothing.
Yeah. I mean, just I don't know. It's different with everyone, I guess.
So
just suck it up, keep going.
While we're talking about being on tour, right? And you know, I mentioned to you this before the podcast started, and I think what people don't understand is you're doing a lot of travel, right? You're on the Asian tour, and the Asian tour, so where it sits, I guess, on the world scale, if we look at, say, money-wise, does it go, what are the tiers? Where does Asian tour sit?
As of right now, I would say it goes PGA, European, Asian tour, Japan tour. But I guess we're third.
I thought that too.
I mean, a LIV tour is what was the fourth.
I thought the same thing. I thought you were probably, you know, I've heard of stories about people on the Japanese tour. So on the Asian tour, right? So there's obviously, it's not a massive money earner. I guess, would you call it what do they call it? Like a progression tour or a
stepping stone tour, that sort of thing. Yeah. I mean, guys like in the top 20 of the order of merit are usually always over like 200 grand US, 250 grand US, which is, you know, pretty good money. Your expenses aren't nowhere near expensive.
Yeah.
And you know, like some and then the guys that are in that top 10, they're making really good money. They're making over like 400,000 or 500,000.
Like your Scott Hens and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, and like now, like the tour is even growing even more. There's like every single year, these international series events, they're going to $3 and $5 million. PGA Tour players that are banned are going to be playing Asian Tour.
Yep.
Like Asian Tour is growing fast, and it's really exciting to be a part of it.
So tell me though, playing on the Asian Tour, right, and its challenges of you jumping around all these different types of countries. Do you have a swing coach?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I during the COVID time, I switched coaches to an American guy who lives in Chicago, and
What's his name? Do you want to share? Or?
His name's Sean Plepple.
Yep.
He doesn't coach many players. He's only got like 2 or 3 other guys.
Yep.
Flies under the radar a little bit. He's a massive golf geek. I've never met anyone that does that intertwines the swing and the golf club and the golf shaft for all the same reasons.
Okay.
So his method of swinging matches the type of shaft that I use, and it's a pretty cool thing that he's got going on. I've never really heard anyone ever speak about that.
So let me all right, let's move into that then, right? So you're currently using quite unique golf clubs. So let's talk about the golf club makeup. Let's just talk about one of your irons. So tell me the specs of your 6-iron. What is it as in line?
So my 6-iron would be almost 2 inches over standard.
In length?
I'm 6'4", so
yeah,
it doesn't look weird. If you saw me gripping a 6-iron, like it doesn't look weird. Yeah. But I have a bad lower back, and it kind of comes and goes. And standing taller is less stressful for my lower spine. I play really upright clubs, so I can stand close and upright. Because if it was flat, I would have to bend over and bring my hands lower, right? So my clubs are about, I don't even know, 5, 6, 7 degrees upright.
And and for the person listening, right, that's a lot.
You'll
often hear variances of, I teach obviously lots of people, and I got lots of taller guys, and I've put probably the last month or so, I've told 3 tall guys who I teach online to go get a fit, because they're bending over too far, and it's difficult around that. People only, you hear people going up and down half an inch, maybe 1 or 2 degrees either way, but you've gone up 2 inches in length and you've made it upright 6 degrees. And that's a lot. That's a lot when we're talking.
A lot. It's a lot.
How did you go about building that? I know it was a bit of trouble, wasn't it?
Definitely. It was a long process. With the shaft being so long, the club becomes very heavy. So we've had to make the club head much lighter than what I was previously using. Now, when you make the club so light and so long, you get a lot of spin. So we had to figure out ways of tipping the shaft. We experimented that. We got a bunch of really light shafts. So we put a bunch of 3-iron shafts, cut them down to the appropriate lengths, put them in there. So we did all these things to try and make the spin rates right, because we knew the length and the setup and the lie angle was a must. It just had to be that way.
Yeah.
Now, the hard part was getting the shaft and the spin rates correct. So that took a little while, and very grateful I was able to get clubs for free. I'm sponsored by Ping, and the shafts I got Nippon to help me out with that. So for the average golfer, they're not going to. It's going to cost them a lot of money and a lot of time to do something like that. But it just all worked out perfect. It was during COVID. I had a bunch of time. I'm living in Chicago. My coach was in Chicago, and we just grinded it out, and
so
we've got dialed now.
Has it improved your lower back? Do you have less pain?
Definitely. So the way it was before, if I had a bad back, I basically had to just rest. I couldn't swing. Whereas now, because I'm so much taller, I don't have as much right side bend at impact. I can still, my back can be bad, but I can still swing a golf club and get by. Yeah. So there's no turning back for that reason.
Yeah. And obviously you're a great player. Did you make was there any swing adjustments needed when you did it? Did you feel like you had to make any changes, or just kind of naturally flowed for you?
Massively. A few things in my technique changed overnight just because of the new setup. So instantly, the swing got less flat and less deep. But that's the pattern that I come from. I come from a very sort of flat, rounded backswing, and I get deep and stuck on the way down. Now that I'm seeing closer and taller,
Yeah.
I'm always working on trying to get the thing more up, you know, getting the left hand working more, getting the club in front of me, and
so
less twisting of the body kind of thing. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, I've had to change a lot. I've still got a long way to go. And yeah, I think I'm hoping in the next 6 to 12 months, it gets to a point where like both my coach and I are pretty happy with it, and it's just all systems go. Like don't have to worry so much about technique anymore, and just play.
And for the person listening, right? So Travis is tall, right? You're tall. You're 6'4" or whatever. That's about 4 foot taller than me. And when you were using the clubs that you were using, and you're exactly right. So Travis had to bend over more from the hips. So what that would look like is what I call your upper hub. So from your belt line up, would have to bend over more to get down to the ball, because your club's, you know, inevitably short for you. And from there, the more bent over you are, the more that causes your arms to go around your body in the backswing, which is what we call a flat golf swing, right? So the arms go around behind you. And I've always known, like just kind of watching you and speaking to you previously, that you've always had that issue that when we measure your club coming down, let's just say at, I use the term P6, which is club shaft parallel to the ground coming into the ball, that you've always had this little bit of a battle of trying to get that thing back out in front of you. It's always been left behind because you've swung so much around your body. And now, so what you're telling us is that you're now closer to the ball, which most tour players are. It's a big difference between the amateur golfer and the tour golfer. Tour golfer is a lot closer than people think. And you've got a longer club, which is allowing you to swing your arms more upright. So then when you're coming down, your club is not so much stuck behind you, and your arms aren't stuck behind you. You can get the club back out in front, and you can hit that. I'm assuming now you can probably get the ball started more in line, and not have that loopy draw, and kind of get that fade happening.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel comfortable now aiming left if I have to, and hitting a bit of a fade.
It's great.
Yeah, it's still not really my stock shot. Like I'm pretty straight to a draw bias still, but as I said, I still haven't got the swing exactly kind of where I want it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that from the technical point of view, where I think from now, what was most likely eliminated from what I'm hearing is the potential overhook or the start line too far to the right. You know, and that happens right when you're sitting on the driving range and you're doing full swings with a 7-iron with your flat swing and your old technique. You know, you're swinging full swings. You can probably manage it, but as soon as you've got a bit of a funky lie, or you want to take some speed off, or you need a bit of wind, all of a sudden the environment has slightly changed. You're going to go a little bit more behind you, aren't you? And it makes it a little bit more difficult to manage.
So many compensations, and I'm amazed at how good I could play some events the way I used to swing it with the clubs I had. But I was kind of inconsistent. Like I'd play really good, but then I could also play really bad. So now I definitely feel like I'm a lot more consistent. If I'm playing bad, it doesn't look as bad, doesn't feel as bad, doesn't feel as far away from good golf.
Yeah. So tell me, how do you stay in touch with your coach?
Just over the phone, swing videos. He's pretty good with it all. And as we've worked together so much in person, it's always clear, like the message is, it's like, Trav, go back to working on this. We've worked on it before X, Y, Z times. So it's pretty simple. Like it's not as hard as what you would think. Like the online and the swing videos and the constant talking, like I'm talking to him almost every other day kind of thing.
And I guess as well is what I try to explain to a lot of people. I spend a lot of my life, educating people, is your pattern doesn't change. Like you've got your fault, like we said before previously with you, your club gets a little bit behind you or whatever. That's what your issue was with your swing clubs, where you're now talking with your coach. You guys are both on the same outcome-based goal of what you need to do to play good golf and where you need to be moving that direction. And it's just a matter of just managing it, isn't it? And staying on that same path. So, it's not like you're learning something new each time, a new fancy thumbnail on YouTube is telling you have to do this or do that. It's kind of keeping in that direction. So, I guess, so he's your coach for the year. Do you sign a contract or something with him at all? Or how does it work? Or how does it work with a tour coach?
it's so different amongst all the different players.
Yeah.
There's so many, like some players pay their coach a yearly wage and then bonuses. Some just pay per lesson, that sort of thing. My coach, funny enough, he's been amazing to me. I haven't had to pay him too much money, and I've just been paying him per lesson. But now that I've made some money, I'm gonna figure out a way that we both win, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I definitely owe him a lot of money, that's for sure. But he's a big crypto guy, actually, and I think he's done quite well. So
has he?
He's not really trying to take all my money.
And you know what? That's nice. That's nice, right? And I guess for him watching you and looking at you, actually, you know what? Just wait a sec, Trav. Can you hear that bang in the background? Can you hear like it's my staff working in the kitchen? You can't hear that?
Oh, but very small.
All right. I just got to tell my publisher. So get back to that now. So to talk about, like I know Pete Cowan's model. Have you heard of Pete Cowan's model, how he works as a coach?
No.
He just takes 10%.
Right.
So he doesn't.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's it. I have to double check that. But he doesn't take a payment or whatever, but he just takes 10% of the time that he's underneath you. And
I don't know. I was speaking to a friend. This topic recently. You're probably not going to put this in. This is just between you and me.
Okay. Actually, hang on. Don't say it. We'll go back. We'll go back because I don't edit this, and I don't trust the guy. We'll go back to it, right? So I'll start that again, right? Publisher, listen in. All right. So
don't bring up the 10% thing with Pete Cowan, because that's not what it is.
Oh, isn't it?
It's much less.
Oh, okay. All right. I won't bring that up there. I was going to say, like, I was going to say, don't quote me. I think it's around. I thought I heard him say that. I thought I heard him say it out of his on the Me and My Golf podcast.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Mate, every time Pete Cowan talks, we'll go back to that. But every time Pete Cowan talks, I just think he's just a genius. He's incredible. I love his staircase talk. I just love the way he communicates. I love that story when he went to a PGA Tour event or European Tour event or whatever it was, and he walked out there. Did you hear the story when he walked out to the range after having his cup of coffee, and there was 17 of his players on the range? He counted them. And he turned around and he just went, I got to go back out, go back inside. How can I prioritize? Yeah. How can I prioritize any of these,
Major winners down the range.
All right, let's get back into it. All right, where should we start? Crypto.
Anything more you want to know about the golf coach stuff?
No. I'll put the ad in then. I've got an ad.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll just do one more thing on the golf coach.
Yep.
So when you say that you're working towards your goals with your golf coach and where your swing wants to be, what are you looking for? Certain parameters? Coaches talk about parameters a little bit. Is it a performance-based thing or is it a technique-based thing?
Oh, definitely technique. I definitely still, as we discussed, I when the club's parallel to the ground in the takeaway, I don't even know what P that is. So it still wants to go a little bit inside and track on this sort of inside rounded of plane. So I'm definitely always looking at that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get away from a flat left wrist. So I'm always looking at kind of where the club face is at the top. I don't want it to be as closed and flat. I want it to be more neutral and appear open to today's standards.
Yeah, same.
And then another position is making sure that it's coming down in front, whilst the hips aren't spinning out ahead of me. So they're kind of always the main technical keys that I'm looking for.
And that, when you talk about what you like to feel and see right top of the backswing there, so you don't want to have the, you try to go away from the Dustin Johnson and Colin Morikawa look with that bowed left wrist at the top, which is just all the rage for some silly reason at the minute. And
I mean, it's purely because my back, I can't get it in a closed position at the top, because then from a closed position you have to rotate a lot.
Exactly right. Yeah.
If you got a bit of a cupped wrist and an open face, those players aren't open at impact. Like their hips are very square coming into impact. So it requires much less body contortion.
Yeah.
And that's the way I have to swing it because of my back.
100%. Yeah. I was going to say it matches your release pattern, right? So it comes back to your DNA of your release pattern. And so for the viewer, that's probably the last thing we'll talk about technical stuff, but the person listening is when your club face is closed, your club face is facing left of the target, right? So then that requires you to get your body potentially more open to try and hold that club face a little squarer through the impact hitting area, where if you have a closed club face and you stall through the impact and flip your hands, and you're going to get this massive left, right? So when you're, for the right-handed golfer, when your club face is more open at the top, it doesn't require you to get as open with your body through the impact hitting area, and you can just release through the ball and just kind of play. You get to play golf, right? And not try and control it and just go back to your instincts, because you're a great instinctive golfer, especially through your kind of your amateur career. And actually, lastly on the coaches thing, before we move into the next subject area, is have you made a mistake through your playing career of seeking too much information from other coaches? Do you think you got a bit too technically minded at all?
Oh, definitely. I went through a phase where I'd played with enough good golfers to realize that I was falling behind. I didn't feel like I was playing nowhere near as consistent as I want to. I just was a bit lost. I would play well one week and play absolutely horrendous the next week, and I didn't really know why. And there was just too many compensations in my swing. My back was starting to hurt. There just wasn't a clear path of like how to get better. Nothing really added up. So I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole of trying a different, like I was pretty honest with my coach. I wasn't happy. And we kind of sat down. This is my previous coach, John Serhan. And I said, mate, I got access to a guy named Dana Dahlquist in America. I went and saw him, kind of tried to learn a little bit from him. This is all at the same time whilst John knew that I was doing this. Like I didn't want to change coaches. I wanted to stay loyal to him. But I just wanted to gather and see what these coaches had to offer. And I didn't love it, didn't click, just didn't work. Now, the trajectory that I'm on now with the clubs and the swing and it, the shaft, and it all comes together under the same sort of method.
Yeah.
This clicks and feels easier, and as I work harder and harder, I get better and better. At least I think I feel like I am. Now, all these coaches that are meant to be amazing golf coaches, which they are to certain players, not one of them said, Trav, I think you should play longer clubs and more upright. And to me, that's one of the most obvious things that someone should have told me a long time ago. So
I guess as well, maybe to I don't want to defend the golf coaches or anything like that at all, but as well, I think when a lot of people come to you who are top end players, I know as a coach myself, I'm generally a bit hesitant at times too to make, like, that's a big call. A big call. Yeah. It's a big call to do that to someone where you're fine tuning an athlete there, and a little bit of fine tuning in this direction. And I guess now you've got a coach in your corner, right, who is in your corner. He's not there. He's not an hour lesson coach. He's actually in your corner. He's a part of your team, and he's riding that with you a little bit more that way. But
you're right.
I had an instance myself with, I coached the number 1 15-year-old in Ireland, and through online coaching, and I've been a little bit hesitant with him because he's 15, technique-based stuff. We do a lot of performance-based stuff, and he's been struggling with his driver a bit. A young kid, as always, jumps out of the ground, a lot of extension. And I thought, you know what, it's time. He's been hitting the gym. I'm going to do a bit of technique stuff with him. And as in downswing with his driver, all of a sudden clicked. I thought, far out. I was hesitant to do it. And overnight, 20 yards on the driver, more fairways. And so sometimes it can be a little bit of that managing that as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of these coaches that you're potentially seeing,
it'd be bloody hard to be a golf coach, honestly, especially trying to coach like a top golfer or a professional. Exactly for those reasons you just said. It's like knowing when to work on certain things at certain times, and it's hats off to you, mate. It's hard. Definitely hard. It's definitely easier to coach a 20 handicapper and get them down to 15 than it is taking a good golf pro to a great golf pro.
Easy, and it takes time too. It takes time to get to see the results of good work. You know, I remember when Daniel Berger, he sees Cameron McCormick, and he won in Pebble Beach. I'll never forget it. In his interview, and he said, "I've been training this one thing now hard for 7 months, and I'm finally seeing results." You know, if a student of mine doesn't hit the ball well after 2 holes, sometimes Toby doesn't know what he's talking about. You know, and
he'll go spend his money elsewhere.
Get a new driver. So, do you think for the recreational golfer, right, as well, and do you think the recreational golfer, from what you might see, especially when you're playing pro-ams or whatnot, maybe blame technique too much for a bad shot?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, the average golfer doesn't like have a pre-shot routine. There's no like moment behind the ball where they're visualizing the shot that they want to see. You know, the practice swings are inconsistent. Yeah. There's no rehearsal. There's no practice swing rehearsal of a technical thing that they're working on. They just put the tee in the ground. They barely even look where they're aiming, and they just swing.
Yeah.
So they shit themselves from the get-go.
And I often talk to the recreational golfer about, you know, they want to boost their performance, right? So they want to boost their performance they want to lower their score, right? And watching how you guys act and train and move around, you know, the golf course and what you're doing in between shots, there's a lot to learn from them. And especially in that go time, just before you get to the ball, like everything that you do when you get into the ball, there's a reason behind it, right?
Yeah.
So what did you want to share this at all? Like maybe a little bit of your pre-shot routine? Like what goes through your thinking when you get up to a ball, say middle of fairway, like what happens?
Well, in a professional event, we're obviously stepping out the distance, figuring out how far it is to the hole, which is a process in itself.
Yeah.
Then you got to take into account wind. And then once you got those numbers, it's kind of like, all right, let's say it's a 150 meter shot that's into the wind. So I want to know in meters how much it's playing. I don't want to know the total number. I just want to go, all right, it's 150, but it's into the wind a little bit. Let's say it's playing 143.
Yeah. Now
I can hit a 9 on 143 meters, but it's going to go high. And when it goes high, the wind's going to crush it. It's not going to go 143 anymore. So I'm thinking in my head 143, but I need like a 150 club to get it to go 143. So like it's a bit of a process in itself, just trying to figure that out. It's not so much like, is it an 8 iron? Is it a 9 iron? Is it a 7 iron? Like I sometimes, if it's windy enough, I could be chipping 6 iron from like 130 meters because it feels like if I hit 7 iron, it's going to go too high and the wind's just going to crush it. So there's a lot of feel involved, and I have that feel because I play golf every day and I practice it.
So that's when you get to the ball, right? So that's you essentially working at the external. So what's required from you to play your shot? Like, well, what the shot requires you, right? What you
I'll let the shot kind of come to me. Like, what do I feel like? And sometimes I'll put if I'm guessing between an 8 iron or a 9 iron. Sometimes just by getting over the ball and just putting the club down, you'll see pros often take 2 clubs to the ball and they'll kind of just put the club down and like look at the target. You get that feel, that sense. This club's not enough. This club's not enough. I need to go one more. And vice versa.
So what about flags? Do you hear people talk about green light, red light type of flags? Does that come into equation as well? Like when do you, if you're that distance out, are you flag hunting? What goes through your mind?
It all depends the danger around the flag.
Yeah.
You know, in the practice rounds, I do a system around the greens, and basically if a flag's right near, you know, a huge drop off where I'm probably not going to make up and down from, a good shot to that flag with even a pitching wedge to me just is 15, 20 foot to the right.
Yeah.
You know, I pick a target safe enough that even if I pull it to a left flag, I'm still going to be on the putting surface.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I might have a 4 iron and the pin's only 4 from the edge, but that 4 from the edge left of the green is completely flat, simple grass. I'll just attack. I'll just pick a target, maybe just slightly right, But even though it's a 4-iron, I'm pretty confident I'm going to get up and down, even if I miss it left. Then I'll attack. So it all depends what's in danger up around that sort of flag.
Yeah. And so that's a lot of the, kind of external information gathering. What about after you pick your club up, you get it off your caddy, which you've probably got a different caddy every week if you've got one. And what goes through your mind now? So you got your club and you've got your target sorted out, and you got your number sorted out. Is there any technical swing thoughts in your pre-shot routine at all?
Yeah. So for me, as we've gone over, I get it inside, that sort of thing. So I do a couple of rehearsals where I really exaggerate the sort of outside and up takeaway. You know, like if you saw me, I'd probably look like an idiot. But to me, I'm exaggerating the feel.
Yeah.
And then I just do kind of one or two of those, and then like a full swing at like a nice sort of tempo.
Yeah.
And then I just go into the ball, and most of the time I'm trying to just keep one thought in my mind, or one or two thoughts, like usually pretty simple, kind of tempo related, or just that takeaway sort of feel.
Yeah.
And that's usually enough to produce a pretty good golf shot.
I love that. I really love that, because I think that's as well as, it's good to hear that from a player. It's good to ask that question as well, because we see that right now. Like, I think people listening would know Jordan Spieth, everyone's seeing that obvious technical thing he's having. So it's kind of like what you're saying is you're doing the work to see what the shot requires of you, and what club it is, doing all the external factors in wind. And then you get your club, and then you're doing some internal work in regards to what I want to do, what I need to do to pull the shot off. And then when you get into the ball, interesting enough, you're still carrying just that maybe potential one thought, but you're back to external and where that ball's going to go.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I think
some players get over the ball and only want to think about like the flag or whatever they're aiming at, and they completely detach themselves from a swing thought. Yeah. Some players thrive on that, but I've never really. I've tried it many times, and it takes more pressure off me if I just stand over the ball and just think about one or two swing thoughts, and almost like kind of forget what's out there. Like I'm over the ball. I know I'm lined up where I need to line up, and I just stand there, just try and make a good swing.
Yeah. I like that. And it's got to match the player, right? It's got to match what the person's kind of thought psyche is like.
Exactly.
And I always talk about people with the breathing aspect side of it. People say, "Oh, you got to take a deep breath." I'm like, you just got to take a normal breath. Just keep breathing normal. Don't all of a sudden go, just for the sake of it because you read it once in a book. Just try and stay normal through it.
Yeah.
All right. So I've got two more questions for you, and then we'll wrap it up for the listeners. Tell me the challenges of trying to stay healthy on the road. So I know that you like to exercise, and I know that you like to look after yourself with good food. How do you do that? So
I'm in Asia all the time. I get sick, I seem to get sick like 3 or 4 times a year. So finding good food, healthy food is like always at the top of my priority list, just because if I don't, I'm probably going to get sick.
Yeah.
So once you get sick enough, you just get fed up with it and you just start doing everything how you should. So, that's a no-brainer. I eat pretty healthy all the time, so it's not really boring to me. It's not that I don't eat perfect. I still, I eat dessert sometimes and burgers and that sort of thing. But maybe in the future I'll get more dialed in with it. But I lots of vitamin C all the time. Traveling a lot, it's very stressful, so you need a lot of vitamin C, multivitamin, probiotic, that sort of thing. I'm actually trying some desiccated beef liver tablets at the moment, just to see how that goes. I kind of just followed a couple of healthy sort of gurus, doctors, and they're preaching that the desiccated beef or cow organs and I don't know, all this goodness is meant to come from it. So I'm trying that at the moment. I feel pretty good. But yeah, it's not rocket science. I think we all know what we should be doing.
Yeah.
We all kind of know when we're a little bit too unhealthy. It's pretty obvious.
I agree.
So
I'm living in Bali at the minute, and they've got this thing called Gojek, or it's kind of like people listening in Australia, it's like a menu log, and You can
Yeah.
get Liberty House whatever you want, and they've got these Nutella pizzas around the corner. So I'm sitting in my gym gear eating a Nutella pizza. But tell me about, obviously, the body, right? The body is super, super important for you to perform. What about the exercise? How do you go about that?
Yeah, so for me, unfortunately, my back's been a bit average for the last couple of years. So working out hard and heavy and a lot is like not what I should be doing.
Yeah.
At the minute, I go through a daily routine that's kind of like a good stretch and then a good activation. And then I basically start my day, a bunch of band work, body weight stuff. And that's kind of, I can go into the gym and kind of smash my upper body, but anything to do with core, lower body, it's all just body weight, pretty boring band work. And I try and do something almost every single day. I definitely am not maximizing my strength, but I just there's some sort of disc issue where I go to the gym and I try and do squats and I try and do deadlifts and all these leg exercises, and it just flares up my back.
You should not be doing a deadlift. We should talk about that. Deadlifts
Yeah.
They don't even do deadlifts in the NFL. They don't.
Yeah, it's just not worth it. Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. But so what about trying to find gyms and stuff when trying to find them when you're on the road? How's that go? Okay.
I think most hotels will have some sort of like little gym. Some are much better than others.
Yeah.
I probably, when I look back over the last couple of years, my back probably wouldn't be as bad if I was more consistent and with my gym routine. And I deeply regret that a lot. I wish I was way more consistent going to the gym, working out 3-4 times a week. But the last couple of years, because I've basically limited to just band work and body weight stuff, I haven't really needed a gym.
Yeah, good.
So it's not the end of the world if I can't find one, but it's not too hard. It's not too hard.
It's not.
Yeah, I'm a member of Anytime Fitnesses, and they're everywhere in the world. So
that's internationally. That's good.
It's the best global gym, I think, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. It's good to use their showers too. On the road.
Yeah.
Hey, lastly on this one, right? And mate, I appreciate your time. You've been awesome, man. It's really good. It's actually good to learn. It's good to learn a lot. Tell me your dream 4-ball, right? So you can do 4 people, another 4 people, or 3 people that aren't golfers.
Cool. Aren't golfers. I think playing golf with like Will Ferrell would be amazing.
That would be amazing. Yes.
I don't think he even plays golf, but still, it'd be a funny day.
Yes, that would be so good.
Maybe someone like Dave Chappelle as well.
Oh, okay. And you know what? This is interesting. Keep going.
He'd be amazing, Dave Chappelle. And a non-golfer, do you mean like? I think what's his name? He plays golf, but he's an actor. He's from Boston.
Not Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg, yeah.
I
forget him. Does he count? He's a golfer, but he's not a professional golfer.
Yes.
I haven't put too much thought into it. I'm sure after this I'll think about it. I'll be like, oh man, I wish I said him. But I mean, those guys would be pretty cool. It's
interesting that you say that because I had Dom as a party, a good friend of mine, who's coach of Lucas, Dom, and he just said 3 comedians.
Yeah.
Interesting enough how much we talk about playing partners before, about just wanting to have a good time on the course, eh?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I mean, yeah.
I'd like to play. I'd like to play with Mark at his house. He's got that. Actually, it's up for sale.
Mate.
His place.
Yeah,
maybe you keep playing well on the LIV Golf, mate. Maybe you could purchase it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Hey, Trav, it's been fun, mate. I really enjoyed you jumping on board. I think we're exactly 12 hours apart, and I appreciate you coming on. I'm drinking coffee, just getting up for the day, and it's been really good. And I hope that people have got to listen about hear about the trials and tribulations, I guess, of the Asian Tour, the LIV Golf. It's been really cool and insight for them. I appreciate you coming on.
No worries, mate. Glad to be a part of it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother.
Cheers.